Chozen Gasoline Toguchi's return for Season 5 was probably the most anticipated return of a character in the franchise's history. Having redeemed himself and aided Daniel in strengthening his Miyagi-Do skills months prior, Chozen had no problem answering the call when his friend needed him the most. We saw many different sides to his character: his charm, his humor, and his softer romantic side. Yuji Okamoto's performance was one of the best of this season, and there's only so much I can say in how Cobra Kai treated the character so well. This is why Chozen is awesome. Let's talk about his parallels with Terry Silver, the knowledge of his fighting style, his relationship with his allies, and more. It should go without saying that there are spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen Season 5 yet, go watch that first and then come back. Let's recap on what we know about Chozen so far. Since this is a continuation of my previous video, How Chozen Found Redemption, I'm only going to recap the events of his arc in Season 5. Feel free to skip the recap, but be warned, you may miss some important details later on in the video. After Cobra Kai wins the 51st All Valley tournament, Daniel reaches out to Chozen, who agrees to help him stop Cobra Kai. While scouting their flagship location, Chozen notices that Terry Silver has studied under Kim Sun-young and tells Daniel that they should think like Serpent if they are to catch one. Chozen infiltrates Cobra Kai as a local valley sensei to get closer to Terry, briefly mentoring Tori, and almost unveils Terry's plan until he accidentally says Kari, exposing himself. Despite this, Chozen single-handedly defeats the rest of the senseis and orders Terry Silver to stay away. Chozen suggests to Daniel that they should reach out to any of Terry's old friends, and they apply this strategy when staking out Mike Barnes, a karate fighter who was hired by Terry to defeat Daniel in 1985. Chozen gets impatient waiting for Daniel, assaults Mike's workers and Mike himself, until realizing it was a big misunderstanding. When Daniel and Amanda attend a charity auction, Chozen keeps an eye on the house and dealership while watching 90 Day Fiancé. After Terry successfully manipulates Amanda into believing Daniel is the aggressor, matters get slightly worse when Chozen lets slip about the scuffle at Agora Fine Furnishings. Although Daniel falls into a drunken depression, Chozen is still by his side when Daniel presses Stingray about the framing of Kreese and agrees to go back to Okinawa until Daniel is lured into another trap by Silver and is beaten by him. Johnny Lawrence agrees to help Amanda, Chozen, and Sam into getting Daniel to fight again and is accompanied by Chozen when they visit Topanga Karate, now being bought out by Cobra Kai. The two successfully defeat Yan Wu, but retreat as they are outnumbered. Thanks to a suggestion from Sam, Amanda, Robbie, and Sam motivate Daniel to keep fighting, as he realizes he is fully supported by the Miyagi-Fang students, along with Johnny and Chozen. While Daniel and Johnny talk to Kreese per Amanda's suggestion, Chozen teaches Miyagi-Fang and how to work together, and when they succeed in completing their training, teaches them how to master their defense. After Miyagi-Fang passes the audition for the Sekai Tekai, Chozen and Daniel train Sam for her fight. Chozen relays that the fight isn't against her opponent, but rather what she's fighting for, referencing how Daniel won the fight back in 1985. The following day, Daniel and Chozen successfully coach Sam to make every point undeniable when it's realized the referee is being bribed again. Sam ultimately defeats da-eun, and the dojo celebrates as they also qualify officially for the Sekai Tekai. Louis, Daniel's cousin, spearheads the celebration for Johnny and Carmen's new baby, and Chozen decides to have a drink while also bonding with Johnny over their past mistakes and regrets. Because of this, Daniel realizes Chozen has a crush on Kumiko and urges him to forgive himself and to pursue Kumiko. On their way to the next bar, the limo is hijacked by Mike Barnes, and after helping Daniel stop the fight between Johnny and Mike, Chozen goes along with Mike's suggestion to attack Silver tonight. The three Karate Kid rivals confront Silver directly, and Chozen takes on Silver while Johnny takes on the Way of the Fist senseis. After a brief exchange of fists and kicks, the battle escalates into weaponry, and Chozen gains the upper hand until he's distracted by Johnny's yell during his fight, and is then defeated by Silver. However, Mike Barnes not only ends up helping Johnny but Chozen, where it's revealed he's alive and requires medical care after Silver is defeated. Let's first talk about Chozen's relationship with Daniel and his allies. My impression is that their relationship is that of siblings, or more specifically, Chozen being the big brother that Daniel never had. I believe that even though Chozen had Daniel's forgiveness, he believed that helping him would still be what he could do to make up for his actions all those years ago. There's a certain protectiveness that he also takes with Daniel, even if it goes on to cause misunderstandings. The first example we see of this is when Chozen reassures Daniel that he'll have to watch out for this guy, showing that he has no fear of Terry and will do whatever he can to protect the LaRussos. We also see this in person at the country club when Chozen comes to Daniel's aid as he's confronted by Terry Silver, going so far to get in his face and utter his classic line from the trailer, you know the one. Chozen goes overboard when he thinks Daniel is in trouble, beating 4 innocent workers that Mike hired and also misunderstanding Mike and Daniel jokingly sparring with each other, getting a first strike on Mike, sending him into the table. While not exactly saving him from any danger, Chozen shows concern for Daniel's well-being when he notices that Daniel slept late and switched out his alcohol for coffee to help him have a clearer head. I would also argue that Chozen, along with Johnny, going over to Topanga Karate to confront Silver directly as retaliation for what he did to Daniel would also count towards this as well. Chozen still goes so far to patrol LaRusso Auto to make sure that Silver doesn't try another attack when Johnny discusses his encounter with Silver in the hospital elevator and refuses to drink until Daniel gives him the okay to do so. Chozen also seems to be more perceptive in situations, making him similar to a Mr. Miyagi that Daniel currently needs in his life. It is his brilliant plan to take a page out of Silver's book by putting on a front to infiltrate the dojo, saying that they must think like a serpent to catch one. He is also very careful of his words, getting Silver to drop his guard to mention some aspects of his plan in his fronts, as Terry goes on to mention his rivalry with LaRusso, what he plans to do beyond the valley, though this isn't fully realized until Johnny and Daniel talk to Kreese, and to confirm his status of being trained by Kim Sung-young. It is also Chozen's suggestion that they beat Terry to the punch and call out any old ally that he would know of Terry's, which would eventually lead to Mike joining their fight, as Chozen would call in the beginning of the episode Downward Spiral. When they discover the newspaper clipping pointing to Kreese's innocence, Chozen is the one who suggests to talk to Kreese after Silver's manipulation of Amanda. And while Daniel refused at first, even acknowledging Chozen being right about Stingray being a turtle, this would also point in the right direction, as this would be Amanda's later suggestion, since they were running out of options on how to stop Terry. Although Daniel sees it as a bad idea at first, launching a full-on attack is something Chozen seems to perceive to be a good idea at the time, more than likely due to Johnny agreeing on the fact that Silver would never expect it. While Daniel was down about his family being away, Chozen shows his belief in Daniel, stating that his family will return as the bonds they've forged are strong, and even feels guilt when on the way to the airport as he feels he failed Daniel. We see this belief further as he's still adamant about not giving up against Silver, even after Daniel wants to, and plays a part with Amanda, Sam, and Johnny to remotivate him into trying to stop Silver once again. Perhaps one interaction and relationship to form that we've all been waiting for is Chozen and Johnny Lawrence. Even though Sam and Amanda question how this will help Daniel, Chozen respects the strike-first approach that Johnny takes. As they approach Topanga Karate, they try to one-up each other on the things they've done to Daniel, but also agree that he always fought for what he believed in, going so far to one-up each other again as they describe the feats they've seen him do. While Johnny is initially unsure of Chozen's martial arts ability, especially with the kata competition comment, they end up mutually respecting each other, with Chozen only stepping in to help Johnny against Yan Wu when he needs it. He also convinces Johnny to think with his head, especially when Johnny tries to convince Devin to leave and to avoid the fight with the Way of the Fist senseis. There's another subtle display of respect when Johnny suggests the combined dojo name to be Miyagi-Do to the Sekai Tekai representative as Chozen smiles in the background. One of the things to come out of left field is Chozen's softer side, who asks Johnny how he ended up with Carmen and a family. Johnny shares that he had to learn to stop thinking about the past and focus on the present, which is the advice Chozen needed as he confides about his own guilt and his own want for a family. He feels comfortable enough to confide into Johnny that he's had feelings for Kumiko this entire time. As much as Johnny wanted a rematch with Silver, he takes one for the team and lets Chozen catch up to him as a subtle nod to his superior fighting ability. As I mentioned before, Chozen and Amanda typically are on the same wavelength when it comes what to do next. They are both adamant about not wanting Daniel to give up against Silver after Amanda realizes how dangerous he can be. Chozen was the first to suggest to talk to Kreese directly, an idea revisited in the episode Bad Eggs as Silver's empire continues to grow. Another relationship that is worth mentioning are the interactions that Chozen has with Sam. In my opinion, Chozen was a sensei that Sam sorely needed to help with their character development in Season 5. When recounting the fight he had with Daniel in 1985, the ultimate lesson is that Sam needs to fight the battle within herself and not against the opponent. This is similar to the advice that Daniel gave to Hawk in the All Valley, where the biggest battle was within himself and not against Robbie. To capitalize on Miguel and Daniel's advice, he states that she has to make the hits as obvious as possible, and even goes on to congratulate her and hug her after the match. I'd like to think that Chozen is the uncle that she never knew she needed. Last but not least, we can't forget about the karate assassin's interaction with the bad boy of karate. Although Chozen isn't happy about being charged more for the couch, since he beat up Mike's employees, he agrees to pay the overpriced amount as a somewhat honorable notion due to the damage he caused. Later on, we also see the two on the same page as Mike suggests confronting Silver directly, as all three of the Karate Kid antagonists are known for going on the offensive. Although while some people have criticized in the past or were rather unsure of how different characters from different parts of the Miyagiverse interacting with each other would work or not, Chozen fits right in. He's easily one of Johnny's new best friends, and Uncle Sam and Anthony both needed, another voice of reason Amanda can rely on, and is willing to get into trouble at Mike's suggestion. Despite being much more aggressive in the past, Chozen, like Amanda, helps Daniel stay grounded and in some instances pushes Daniel to go on the offensive when needed. Another point of discussion should be Chozen's crush on Kumiko. When this revelation dropped near the end of the season, this made me look at some of Chozen's interactions with Kumiko in Karate Kid Part 2 in a different light. Now initially, Chozen disliked Daniel simply because of his association with Mr. Miyagi, his uncle Sato's rival. This was also compounded due to Daniel exposing Chozen as a cheat, which led to the first retaliation where Chozen kicks Daniel in front of Kumiko. She throws a tomato at him, and he throws down his shirt with the classic, "You keep for your collection, I know you like." Given the events of Season 5, this could now be more of a reference to perhaps Kumiko liking him when they were younger, or that Chozen tried to goad a response out of her because he liked her, which we know now. In the next scene, Kumiko tells Daniel that he doesn't know what honor is and has always been like that. Perhaps at one point, a time before the flashback of Chozen training with Sato, he was a nicer individual who did like Kumiko, as they did play in the ruins of the castle, but slowly became corrupted at a young age, explaining his arrogance in Karate Kid Part 2. When Chozen confronts Daniel in the bar and challenges him to break 6 ice, thanks to Toshio's observation, Chozen prevents Daniel from going after Kumiko. Again, this was simply to prevent Daniel from leaving, but this could also be looked at as Chozen's jealousy of Kumiko spending time with Daniel. One of the more concrete instances of this is where Chozen goes to interrupt the two holding hands at the dance club, robbing Daniel and threatening to take care of Kumiko. Daniel gets the upper hand in this instance, as does Miyagi when Chozen, Taro, and Toshio wreck Miyagi's home and corner Daniel. After being disowned by Sato, due to his unwillingness to help his rival during the typhoon, this is what causes Chozen to take Kumiko hostage unless Daniel fights him. A foreign karate student who is the son of his uncle's rival insulted his honor, gained the affections of his childhood crush, and caused him to be disowned by his uncle. Despite all of that, Chozen was not only given a chance to redeem himself by his uncle, but by Kumiko. As he told Daniel while they were out partying, she sought him out to forgive him, despite him wanting to hide, just like how they would always play hide and seek. This would explain why Kumiko was still associated with Chozen, to Daniel's surprise, advocating that Chozen had changed. Kumiko also knew that Daniel needed his help not only to overcome grudges, but in terms of fighting skill as well, as Chozen would go on to save Daniel's life in return for sparing his. Because of the regret and guilt that Chozen has over his actions and knowing what Kumiko meant to him, out of respect he never pursued Kumiko. However, in a parallel of events to Season 3, Daniel helps him overcome this by nudging him to pursue her and helping him realize that he's done all he can to atone for his actions of the past. Chozen leaves a voicemail detailing his feelings for Kumiko, and all we can hope for Season 6 is that they explore the storyline further. While it's hard to say if Chozen will have children, I think now he would make an amazing husband for Kumiko compared to how he was in 1985. Let's also talk about Chozen's martial arts knowledge and some of his teachings. Season 5 revealed that Chozen not only knew Kim Sun-young, but also knew the style of Tong Soo-do itself, impressing Terry Silver. I would like to point out that this explains why Chozen was always ahead of Daniel in terms of skill not only in Karate Kid Part 2, but also in Cobra Kai, as Chozen saw the benefit of using two styles compared to Daniel and Johnny struggling to learn from each other for so long. This would also explain why when fighting alongside Johnny against Yan Wu that their styles meshed together so well, as both finish him off with the same exact kick. How exactly he learned the style is unknown, but if I had to guess, Chozen perhaps studied the style in secret, or at the request of his uncle, as he told Daniel that Sato had a rivalry with Kim Sun-young, though never explained why he disliked him. Kim Da-eun knows of Chozen, presumably through Silver or perhaps his reputation as one of Sato's students, though the recognition doesn't seem to be as if they've met before, so I doubt Chozen studied from Master Kim directly. As Chris said it best, Chozen resembled both of the best aspects of Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang, wise but aggressive. It is this training exercise of protecting the egg that goes on to help them when Cobra Kai attempts to retrieve the tablet from the Alliance as they work to expose Terry. Chozen also made good on his word to the students in training them on how to improve their defense, with notable examples of Dimitri using a vicious counterattack punch that was seen used by Chozen when he fought the Valley Senseis, Robbie throwing someone like Chozen did in the same fight, and the different stances he used, which Sam used not only in her fight against Devon, but also against Tori in the previous season. I think the choice to not have Chozen mentor anyone directly, outside of words of encouragement to Sam, was a great twist that not many saw coming. Notable rumors, myself included, perhaps thought he would focus on training Robbie, who I described in a previous video that was most like him, Hawk, or even Anthony, but having him train all the students with much needed discipline is what helped them prepare for the fight ahead. The Protect the Egg exercise may stem from a modified demonstration where Chozen showed the ability to attack multiple opponents at once in 1985. While not quite the same, it does share the same principle of being on the defensive against opponents who have the numbers advantage over you, as we see inside the Cobra Kai dojo. Chozen, knowing better than to teach techniques such as the pressure points, as even Daniel, now an adult, also didn't use them in the right circumstance, was also a wise move, as that type of knowledge shouldn't be taught to just anyone, even to someone like Sam, as this could be easily abused. A notable example of this is Kenny, as he used the silver bullet outside of the points fight on Robbie to close the gap. Even in the hands of a Miyagi-Do student, all it would take is for that student to be unfocused, as we saw in Season 2, and to abuse that power to inflict more pain than necessary on their opponent. One of the things we can't not talk about is why Chozen lost to Terry Silver. Before I get into the specifics of the fight, I would like to point out some subtle similarities I noticed between the two. Because Chozen knows Terry is a student of Master Kim, he decides to mimic him by putting on a front about who he truly is to disrupt his plans. One subtle detail is how both he and Terry don't necessarily lie about who their masters are, but don't necessarily elaborate either when Terry talks to Miyagi or when Chozen talks to Terry. Both end up training an All-Valley champion from a rival dojo with their respective styles principles, though with Chozen and Tori, it is very brief. I would also like to point out that Chozen offers advice to Tori the same advice Terry told Robbie. They have to confront whatever they fear in order to move forward. For Tori, it was Terry Silver, while for Robbie, it had to do with his father and Miguel. Ironically, Chozen is sought out for help by Daniel, similar to how Kreese sought out Silver, though initially it wasn't for revenge until Silver wanted to make it so. Last but not least, both are eventually disarmed and given a choice to live or die. The first factor into why Chozen lost to Terry is alcohol. In Season 3, Chozen told Daniel that he didn't drink, or at least any more. In Karate Kid Part 2, he was seen slamming his beer onto Daniel and Kumiko's table. This could be further proven by the fact that perhaps the whiskey caught Chozen off guard, and is why he said Kari instead of Kanpai, which blew his cover. Even Chozen protested that he wanted to help keep his mind sharp in case Silver attacked, but Daniel gave him the night off to enjoy himself, and Chozen immediately ordered a favorite of his, Long Island iced tea. It could be that rather Chozen doesn't drink as much anymore, especially given what he has done in the past. All of that taken into account though, it didn't really slow Chozen down that much, as he was able to shrug off Silver's initial attack and strike with a vicious counterattack to the knee. This also made Terry pick up a sword, as he knew how dangerous he was when Chozen took out 6 senseis earlier in the season and wiped the smile off of Terry's face. It should be also interesting to note at times that Chozen would be the one pressing forward while Silver would have to back up. Terry, who also had been drinking with Kim Da-eun, still managed to not only land a hit on Chozen, but to also slice him twice with the sword until being disarmed by Chozen, and then went in for a critical hit with a slash on the back. That being said, I think one can assume if neither had been drinking, the outcome would have been much different for both fighters, and given the fact that Silver still struggled with an inebriated Chozen, one can only wonder how a fight would be with the sober Chozen. The second main reason that Chozen lost was Johnny. Chozen had the upper hand, even Terry slowly moved forward for Chozen to land the final hit, but when Chozen realized Johnny was in trouble, that was the opening that Terry needed. At this point, Chozen had taken more hits from Silver, and with this third slash, Chozen was just going to go down plain and simple. The third reason, which is more literal, is that Daniel needed to be the one to defeat Silver. No matter who you believe would win, I think it's safe to say that a lot of us believe that Chozen compared to Silver was either the better fighter, which now is still debatable, or would have a moment where he gained the upper hand, which he technically did so twice. Season 5 did a really good job of putting together so many fantasy fights, whether they were brief scuffles or team-ups, but I think the right choice was made where Daniel was the one to beat Silver. Due to how much it affected his adult life and also bringing it back to the classics of the series, I don't think the ending could have been much greater than that. There's a lot of symbolism in his fight with Terry that I'll talk about in an upcoming Daniel video, but I'll just leave it at that in saying that this is the best ending fight that they could have picked in a one-on-one capacity. Here are my final thoughts on Chozen and what we could see from him in the future. I'm very glad that Chozen survived, but given how much of a warrior's heart he's always had, I also knew that he wouldn't have wanted to go out any other way. I suspect in Season 6 that he'll still help with the Sekai Tekai in some capacity, as the students could really use his knowledge and discipline. There is a chance where this would not happen though, as I'd imagine with his work being done, if Cobra Kai does not enter the tournament, he'd probably return to Okinawa after his injuries have healed, and perhaps the storyline with Kumiko will be fleshed out a bit more. It would put a nice bow on things, as Chozen is the only adult out of the four to not have a romantic partner or children. That being said, if he still does continue to train and stays with Johnny and Daniel, I would love to see his interactions with Kreese and more interactions with Kim da-eun, as this would be a nice opportunity to explore why Sato had a rivalry with Kim Sun-young. In the event that Julie Pierce is brought in to help fight against Kim in the tournament, it would be nice to see the three most prominent Miyagi-Do students share a scene together. Yuji Okamoto absolutely killed it in every scene he was in, whether it was funny, serious, or whether it was Chozen destroying everyone. I hope we see more of Chozen, and only time will tell what his story will be like in Season 6. Before I go, I want to give a quick shout out and thanks to my partners and affiliates. I now have official merchandise. Go to strifethewarrior.art or click on any of the merchandise below the comments section. If you're trying to prevent Miyagi Fame from breaking into your server and exposing your diabolical scheme, then you'll need some strong security to protect your information. Go to nordvpn.com/strifethewarrior or use coupon code StrifeTheWarrior to get a NordVPN 2-year plan with a huge discount. You can use NordVPN to unlock Netflix and your favorite entertainment websites that are not available here in the US. You can connect up to 6 devices at the same time with one account. There is no data logging whatsoever, and it works even in China. NordVPN works with Windows, macOS, Linux, iOS, and Android, has a Chrome extension which is very user-friendly, and unlimited bandwidth. If you're not happy with it for any reason, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. With 7 All-Valley Championships under its belt, it's no wonder why NordVPN is a winner. If you use this code, you also help directly support my channel. So go to nordvpn.com/strifethewarrior or use coupon code StrifeTheWarrior at checkout. Last but not least, I'm sure I have a good majority of gamers here in the audience, but did you know you can grab some excellent games while supporting charities at the same time? If you haven't already, you should check out HumbleBundle. They've raised over $200 million in charity since 2010 and feature different charities site-wide every month. If you see a bundle you like, you can pay for what you want and in return get computer programs, games, ebooks, etc., and the proceeds support charity. Go to HumbleBundle.com and use my referral link in the description at checkout. These referral links help support the channel, so thank you NordVPN and thank you HumbleBundle. Let me know what you guys think down below. What will happen in the future for Chozen? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like it, subscribe, share it with your friends, and comment, as these all help my channel grow. Also, if you like the dynamic of Cobra Kai, I highly recommend watching Tiger and Bunny. It's an anime about 2 superheroes overcoming their differences with a very similar dynamic that we see between Daniel and Johnny. Season 1, half of Season 2, and 2 movies are available on Netflix right now, with new episodes of Season 2 dropping next month on October 7th. I have a couple of videos out right now on who I believe to be the show's Johnny and Robbie, so check them out. Be sure to check out and subscribe to my second gaming channel. I'm trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers, and supporting this channel also helps me support my main channel. I'll be uploading more clips to this gaming channel, so stay tuned for that. Keep up with me on my socials via Instagram and Twitter. Shout out to my YouTube members, I appreciate the support. If you'd like to directly support the channel, consider becoming a member and enjoy perks such as VIP channels, access in Discord, preview videos before release, 15% off of merch, members only live streams and chats, and more, all for only 99 cents. Thanks for watching, stay beautiful, stay awesome, and we'll catch you around next time.